All right, we're going to talk about scales. What is a scale? Why should you care? Why should you practice it? How do you practice it? All that stuff. A scale is very simply a group of notes in order. That's it. So if I take like these notes and I play them in order, that's a 5-note scale. If I go all these notes in order, that's an 8-note scale. And then you could have like a 6-note scale. Right? And when I said 8-note scale, this is really a 7-note scale, but we're like duplicating this note up at the top, but we'll get to that. What is the purpose for a scale? Well, a scale in music is like your ABCs, basically. We learn a lot of prefixes, suffixes, etc. in English or in language that show up over and over again in words. The suffix tion, relation, gumption, situation, it shows up over and over again. So we learn that little piece that we can just keep using over and over. Well, scales are very similar to that, in that you're going to get pieces of scales and entire scales that show up in music all the time. If you were doing classical music, you might go like... Right there is a scale. A bunch of scales going up and down and up and down. It's not just in classical, of course. If I was in the blues, I'd be using a blues scale. Okay, so I might... That was just me playing a blues scale up and down. That is the blues scale. Already sounds like the blues, right? So scales in music are very, very, very important. Here's another reason that we study scales is that if you're learning to read sheet music, it shows up on sheet music as like line space, line space, line space. It makes it very easy. So let me show you. So here's a group of notes that are just climbing the staff, and each one of these is right next to the last one. Line, space, line, space, line, space, line, space. So if you're reading music and you need to look at this really quickly and you see this group of notes and you know that that's a C and you know that that's a C, then you're just going to say, let me just play a C scale real quick. You don't have to read every individual note. It's just like when you learn letters to read words, you're going to sound it out first, but eventually you're going to see that this group of letters makes that word. Instead of saying B-R-E-A-D individually, you're just going to think bread. It's the same in music.